I'm going to tell you why the Chicago Bears trading for Quinnen Williams would actually make sense for the team that they are trying to put together. And it starts right now. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talk. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. So the Chicago Bears are still looking for some pieces on the defense and really still looking for an edge rusher in this sense. But Quinnen Williams scrubbing his Twitter timeline, scrubbing the Jets from everything that he has everybody kind of asking the question, could the Chicago Bears be a realistic landing spot for Quinnen Williams? And for the most part, right, people have kind of come out, and I've said this too as well on the Chicago Bears podcast by ESPN Chicago, that listen, I think that the Jets will finally end up working this thing out with Quinnen Williams. I think he's too big of a piece for you to not end up working it out in a season where you went out and got Aaron Rodgers and you're hoping to make a Super Bowl run here. But at the end of the day, right, like there's always that possibility that maybe Quinnen Williams doesn't want to be a Jet, or maybe he's just not happy or feels disrespected with how the contract talks have gone. And so you're to the point now where you still got some players on the defensive side of the ball you're going to have to pay. Maybe you move on from Quinnen Williams right now, try to get some draft capital if you're the Jets, right, and to set yourself up for a future where maybe Aaron Rodgers isn't there. And I think that's kind of where the Bears could take advantage here. Now, the first question is why, right? Realistically, why is the same reason that I've had an issue with many GMs. And I'm not saying that Chicago Bears have to make this trade. It's a must trade move that you have here. I still like Javon Dexter. I do like Zach Pickens. I think that you have a couple of guys who can be that position that Quinnen Williams is. But the thing is, you have a proven commodity available right now at that linchpin spot of 3 technique. And here's the thing that I've said, right? Basically, I look at Quinnen Williams as a guy that turns other guys into blue chip players. I think Tremaine Edmonds is an amazing linebacker. I think TJ Edwards is a guy that's really been able to outplay kind of what people thought he was going to be. And I think that Jack Sanborn's kind of having that coming into the league underdog mentality that's finally turning into a really good story. I hope that we see him continue to develop. But the thing in this 4-2-5, 4-3 style of defense that the Chicago Bears are going to be playing is that if you don't have that guy up front, are those guys going to still be those blue chip players? What are your DBs going to look like? What are your safeties going to look like? Right. And to me, right, like, I think that's the question that you really need to look at when you look at this defensive line. You went out and you paid a lot. You went out and you got your linebackers. You paid a lot of money for your linebackers, maybe believing that you would be able to go out and get guys in the draft that are going to turn them into the blue chip player. But there's still that question mark of how's that going to transfer into the NFL. Here's the thing about Quinnen Williams. I already know that he's in the league. I already know what he can do in this NFL. I already know what kind of player he is and what kind of player he could make the players that are standing behind him. TJ Edwards has already been able to play with Quinnen Williams. And so you already know that this guy knows exactly where Quinnen Williams is going to line up. You know, he's going to know how to attack and already have that rapport built up with him that is going to make his game even better. Now you're pairing those two guys together, and I think at the same time, right, you've got Tremaine Edmonds here, who's now going to be basically your number one option in this defense. But is he going to be able to get to the quarterback, be as effective in coverage? If there isn't that pressure on the quarterback, if there isn't that guy eating up blockers, is he going to be able to affect the run game as well? Right. Those are the questions that I think that Quinnen Williams answers. And yeah, it is going to cost you a little bit. Listen, he's a top defensive tackle in the NFL. He's a guy that you go out there and get. Now, would this be a Khalil Mack style of swing? Absolutely. But you went out and you invested all this money. And it's my biggest issue, like I was going to say, with the Bears GMs that we've had. They go out and they invest high capital, and they invest a ton of money into certain positions, and they tell that guy, I want you to be the guy that you were there, or I want you to do the things that you did there. But then they don't give them the tools around them that allowed them to be that guy. You want to know why Tremaine Edmonds was so amazing? Because he had an amazing defensive line standing in front of him. You want to know why TJ Edwards was such a stud at the New York Jets? Quinnen Williams. He's right there. So to me, right, I look at this as a situation where you can build on the team that you're trying to make, that you've went out and invested money in by actually going out and getting a 3 technique that is a dominant style of player. And I think that to me, right, like that's the reason that you would go out and take a real long look at a guy like Quinnen Williams. Hey, I want to know how you guys feel though. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. Should the Chicago Bears go out and get Quinnen Williams? Would he be somebody that you would want to see the Bears trade for? What do you think that it would cost to realistically go get him? I'll be down in the comments talking with you guys as always. Now, here's the thing. Cost comes into play, right? What is it going to cost for the Chicago Bears to go out and get Quinnen Williams? Well, listen. At the end of the day, it's going to start with a first, probably a first, maybe a third as well for future draft capital. Now, the good thing is the Chicago Bears have 2 firsts, and they have the money to then sign Quinnen Williams to an extension if he were to come here. And I know immediately everybody's like, I would never trade a first for Quinnen Williams. I would never. Why would I do that? Well, here's my question to you. Is there going to be somebody who's going to be at the top of that draft who is Quinnen Williams or better than Quinnen Williams? That is the question that you have to ask yourself. That's the reason why everybody was fine with the Bears trading DJ Moore. Now, of course, the draft capital plays a huge part into that, right? But I think at the end of the day, right, like you go out and you get DJ Moore for that first overall pick. There was no wide receiver in this draft that even if you moved back and wanted to take a wide receiver that was going to be better than DJ Moore at that first overall pick. So I think that, right, a couple of really good moves were made in that situation. I think you could capitalize on that here in the Quinnen Williams case, right? And to me, it's a move that I think that you have to take a long look at. Now, I'm not ultimately tied to this move because there are other defenders out there. I would like to see what these young guys are able to do, but I wouldn't want to see that at the detriment of the Bears being able to get wins and being able to make the defenders that they've just paid even better. You have to put a line in front of these guys, right? It was my biggest issue when the Bears drafted Mitch. It's been my biggest issue with Justin Fields. It's been my biggest issue with the DBs that we've drafted. You throw these guys out there, you don't get pressure on the dogs up front, and then you sit there and wonder why these guys aren't performing at the same level. I think that the best thing that you can do in some senses here is to throw major money, capital, whatever it is, on this defensive line and try and go out there and attack it. And at a minimum, you know what the guy that you're bringing in, paying, trading for, whatever it is, can do. So I think to me, that's the reason why I'd be in on Quinnen Williams. I would look at the trade. I'd take a long look at the trade. It's not one that I think you have to get done because I think there's also guys out there, right? A Yannick Ngakoue that can move around. I don't think he's coming here to be a 3 technique, but he can move around the defensive line and do some really good things himself. I think there's guys that, here's the thing about it at the end of the day. You're going to overpay in some sense. You're either going to overpay to go sign a guy or you're going to overpay to go trade for a guy. It's really just about how you feel the best way to overpay is. So to me, I would rather sign a guy, but if Quinnen Williams is available, I think that I have to take a long look at that to try and figure out if he's that right piece for the next 5, 6, 7 years for the Chicago Bears up front. But again, I want to know how you guys feel, man. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. As always, man, it's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again to continue watching our Chicago Bears content. Click the links on the screen or check the links in the description below. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago, man. Peace.